and educational content. Come to the broadcast of News Hour on Super Media Television.
Welcome to the broadcast of World News on Super Media Television.
Welcome to the broadcast of news across Nigeria on Super Media Television.
This is Sport Daily on Some TV.
Good morning, Nigeria. This is the morning show from Some TV.
Super Cab, safe, convenient and affordable 247 transportation services across Jalingo and Taraba State.
Yes, good evening, Nigerians. You're welcome to Today's Politics on Some TV. Today's Politics on Some TV is where we discuss political issues that has to do with Nigeria, with Taraba State, and the world at large. And today's edition is going to be quite explosive because politically a lot is happening in the country. And with me today to discuss this issue, to analyze this issue, is a legal practitioner that has a master's degree and also has his PhD in view. Today with me in the studio is Barrister Moses Maki. Barrister Moses Maki, you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
The notice was short, but you made it here quite on time. And I think from the way I see things, you're really bubbling up to hit the issue. So thank you for coming.
Certification or whatever is meant for the lawyer should be given so that at least it will be emboldened. It will embolden him to do more in courts. Okay. That's in carrying out research. And these days, carrying out research has to do with finances. Definitely. You must buy books. And you must engage in your law journals and also Pavilion. Although these days, law Pavilion, these days, you must have to subscribe to it. So by making subscription, it's not free. So you must have to get the money.
Thank you very much. I hope we will not be getting a bill. Something will not be getting a bill today for the legal advices you will give.
Not at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Since on that note, I think the word is listening. He said we're not going to be getting a bill. So let us hit the ground running. Like we all know, so far there have been an issue that have been at the front burner of political discussion. Today we're going to be discussing three issues. Like I said earlier, we're going to be discussing the issue, the controversy between the Senate President and the Senate. Natasha Uduaghan, and we also have the issue of the River State palaver that has been ongoing for years, and we also had the issue of the chief of Takum issue in southern Taraba. So we'll be looking at those three issues to discuss. But we are going to start now with that of the Senate. Well, I'm just going to run through a summary of what we're going to discuss. For those that have not been following the happenings in the Senate, it started with a seat allocation dispute with Akpoti Uduaghan refused to switch seats as instructed by the Senate President, leading to a confrontation. Akpoti Uduaghan repeatedly raised the point of order despite being overruled, prompting the Senate to refer to the Ethics Committee for disciplinary action. Later, Senator Akpoti Uduaghan submitted a petition accused Akpabio of sexual harassment, which was initially rejected but later resubmitted. And the Ethics and Committee recommended a 6-month suspension for Akpoti Uduaghan's alleged disrespect towards the Constitution. Some of the additional penalties include withdrawal of a salary and those of the legislative aides, a ban from accessing the National Assembly premises, and closure of our Senate office. But before we go into the issue, let us start from where it all began, from the issue of sitting arrangements. As a legal practitioner, I believe you will all know what the Senate standing rules is. You have an idea what the Senate standing rules is. At that point, what is the rules about relocating someone from one seat to another in the Senate?
Thank you very much. First of all, it is at the discretion of the Senate President to allocate seats to every senator. That is what is written in that particular rules of theirs that govern whatever activities they do within the Senate. But one thing is, I want to just draw our attention back to how it started. Not prior to the time when this woman raised objection as to how and where she was given that seat. Actually, to some extent, when it has to do with when she alleged that there was a harassment or sexual harassment. Before she was able to divulge to the public that there was a sexual harassment, at some point when she was, when the Supreme Court now affirmed her, or the Court of Appeal affirmed her to be the winner of the Kogi Central as a senator, when she went there, she was given a Chairman House Committee on Local Content.
Okay.
But at some point, along the line, she has not stayed longer. She hasn't stayed longer than expected, not longer than expected. What happened was she was removed. Immediately she was removed. Why? And there was no cogent reason why she was removed.
Okay.
She hid everything to herself. She kept everything. But at some point when everything was going normal, but she could not disclose it to everybody. Not until when the seats, about the seats, when the seat got changed. When it changed, we were expecting that in the front seats, she's supposed to be given maybe another or additional seat, where that is a seat that will be allocated to her, should be in front, not at the back, referred by the back. The implication of being at the back was she will be gagged. Gagged in the sense that the camera will not view her. And even if she raised her hand to air her view, it will be very hard for the Senate President to look at her or to see her so that she will be given the chance to say anything. So it has got perpetuated out of anger, emotional trauma, and what have you. She could not just do, she could not hide anything, so she has to disclose it to the public. That's what happened. Now, when we come in terms of ethics of the Senate House, the Senate, everything, the Senate is guided by their rules.
Yes.
And these rules that they are guided by, they ought to adhere to it strictly. Why am I saying they ought to adhere to it strictly? Is to make sure that they have divorced themselves from any emotional entanglement or what have you. Now, at the end of the day, the Akpabio, who happened to be the Senate President, and the complaint is being lodged against the Senate President. Now, it is expected that the senator, that is Senator Godswill Akpabio, who is the Senate President, ought to recuse himself. He ought to recuse himself because for now, as it is now, it's just like he's a judge, one, and he's a complainant. Because he cannot just give a verdict against himself. Because the Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges are under him. And naturally, as it is now, they will definitely favor him. when the allegation comes up like this before or against the Senate president, I believe I'm expecting something like independent body should investigate the matter. Once if they investigate the matter, to some extent, there will be some semblance of maybe impartiality and what have you. But as it is now, every committee is under Akpabio at the moment, and he dictates for them. So you don't expect any fair play or justice for Natasha at the moment.
Okay, if you say that, but don't you think she played herself into this by simply refusing to follow the standing order of the House? What was if she has moved to the seat allocated to her in respect of the Senate standing order, then from there lay her complaints? Wouldn't that have been better for her?
Yes, I believe if she had been given a better seat, everything.
Is there any seats? Is there any seats that will consider better off in the Senate?
Yes.
But
yes.
are there people sitting on those seats before now?
I doubt there are people, because we have 109 senators.
Yes.
And this seat, I believe, there are more than 500.
Okay.
Yes, there are more than 500. So those places are left vacant. Nobody sits on it. But she has now been sent to the extreme end of the Senate House.
Yes.
Then the implication of this, as I earlier mentioned, that she will not be seen. She will be gagged immediately.
But that is to me, that is an insinuation. Under the law, does the Senate President have the prerogative to assign her to that seat?
Yes. The senator, that is the Senate President, has the prerogative to assign a seat to any member of the House.
Yes.
Her is geared towards gagging her. That is, it makes maybe she will not say anything. Her constituent will not be heard because she's the voice of her constituency.
Yes.
So as it is now, by sending her to the extreme end of that particular seat, I don't think she'll be heard at all.
Now, let me ask a question, because today while listening to her, when someone raised a point of order that the Senate does not entertain matters that are in court because they are subjudiced, while she was submitting a petition of harassment against the Senate President, she stood up and she stood up to say that she did not take the matter of harassment to court. That the case she has in court was not harassment against the Senate President, was a case against the aide of the Senate President, who claimed she wore seductive, very close and seductive clothes to the House. So that was why our petition was entertained in the first place. But a ranking senator now raised a point of order to say, now this petition, it is the procedure is flawed for submitting the petition, because the Senate rule says no senator can submit a petition signed by him or her with his or her name on it. So she should have, she can submit a petition that is signed by her and with her name on it. So that was why the petition was rejected. Now, going back to the issue of harassment, she said there's no case of harassment against the Senate President in court. So what does this portend to the case? Since she herself said she has made verbal allegations of harassment, but she hasn't got to court to sue for harassment yet. Yes. Based on what she said.
One thing was, with the politics of Nigeria is we try to, there is what is called dead horse theory. Dead horse theory, which has to do with the nitty-gritty of that particular thing that ought to be dealt with. We are not just doing it, we just follow the peripheral aspect of it and then do what is needless. Do what is out of triviality, we just do it, which does not go well with us. Now, the aides of the Senate President, who is now saying that she wore a transparent, seductive clothes. All these things, they were all just mere allegations to divert the nitty-gritty or whatever.
But she also
the main
laid
crux of
an
the whole
allegation against his boss that, without evidence, to say that he harassed her sexually some years back.
Yes, to some extent, those things were popping out, those evidence for her to adduce. But I'm expecting something so special about this this particular case. I'm expecting her to have included that sexual harassment before the court. And I believe, to some extent, she has some evidence up to now, which she still keep them.
Okay.
In case she's being called upon for her to adduce those evidence, she can be able to do that. Now, the part of the what is called Okwemi, that's Senator Okwemi
from Lagos State.
from Ekiti State.
Ekiti State, yes, yes.
Bamidele
Okwemi, from Ekiti.
Senator, he's a lawyer who talks about signing of petition, that the petition should have come from either maybe an outsider, not a senator, who is trying to petition against something that has happened to him wrongly or whatever it is. So, the Senate Ethics, which has stipulated that a petition should not be received whenever is being signed by the senator, he or herself. So, as it is now, I expect Natasha not to have signed it, if that should be, because I believe we follow the rules, and the rules are there. And I believe she has read it before she brought that her petition. She ought not to. Maybe she has some other, her legislative aides are there, will have signed the document before bringing it into the House, as it is. So that is where I can be able to fault her, where she has erred in doing so. And knowing that she's a legal practitioner, she must have read that particular place where it has been explicitly written there. So as it is now, I can just tell you that she has erred in that aspect.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now, maybe our technical crew can just play some videos of what occurred. Let our viewers have a sneak view of some of the things that occur, and even we ourselves should just watch our proceedings in the House to see what unfolds in the Senate.
President, distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, and I stand to raise a petition under Order 40. A petition may only be presented to the Senate by a senator who shall affix his or her name at the beginning thereof. The petition is in my name against the President of the Nigerian Senate, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio, for sexual harassment, abuse of office, and malicious obstruction of my legislative functions. You may recall, sir, that on Friday in Arise TV, I did make some statements. And I have decided to narrow these statements in a formal petition against the President of this Senate. So if it may please you, I would humbly step forward and lay this petition. Thank you.
You may proceed. To the Senate as soon as practicable.
Petition.
Any other petition? Yes. During our proceedings on Thursday, I had cause to referred to the Legislative House's Powers and Privileges Act 2004, and also our standing rules, where it is clearly stated that whenever a member stands up to talk, the other member must sit down and must listen in silence. Is a norm. And that you can only speak when you are recognized. I take cognizance of the fact that each and every one of us is still learning. Even those of us that have been in the Senate for 16 years, we are still learning. So we'll do well to continue to learn. But in the course of my talking to one of my distinguished sisters, that she should speak whenever she's recognized, I made reference to the fact that we are not in a nightclub where people have to shout above the noise of the music. And the social media went agog. I'm not on social media, but my wife called me that people got angry. They published her number and said people should occupy her. So she used to receive, she received over 2,000 to 3,000 phone calls a day. And then I tried to on one of my phones. I realized it was in the public. In fact, the phone crashed after about 3 hours. So I'm very happy with the interest generated by Nigerians in what goes on in these chambers, because we are here to cater for their interests. And so for them to be so interested in what goes on here means that we are connecting with the people directly. Prayer one, yes. That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Akpotiuduaghan for 6 months for a total violation of the Senate Standing Rules 2023 as amended, for bringing the presiding officer and the entire Nigerian Senate in general to public opprobrium. Those in support of prayer one say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. I'd put the question. Those in support of prayer one say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. How do you amend a prayer that is unanimous? Prayer two, that for the Senate to consider lifting this suspension or reducing the tenor of the suspension, Senator Natasha Akpotiuduaghan shall submit a written apology to the Senate before any reconsideration by the Nigerian Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. I don't think Senator Abaribe, as a landlord of the Senate, I don't think they heard what I read. So let me just repeat for clarity that for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or reducing the tenor of the suspension, Senator Natasha Akpotiuduaghan shall submit a written apology to the Senate before the reconsideration by the Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. Hey. Okay, because I thought I had 50-50. Let me just make it 40-60. That for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or reducing the tenor of suspension, Senator Natasha Akpotiuduaghan shall submit a written apology to the Senate before any reconsideration of this case by the Senate.